This series of slideshows are designed to describe the main parts of an educational tax credit bill for Texas. The goal of the bill is to help parents pay for private school tuition or tutoring or online courses or other types of educational enrichment. So you can see that the bill is very flexible and can help in many different situations. The bill is actually divided into two parts that describe two different programs. The first program is called the Family Education Tax Credit Program. It is designed to benefit families that have a significant property tax burden. The second program is called the Scholarship Organization Tax Credit Program. It is designed to benefit families that have little or no property tax burden. Let's first describe the situation that Texas families are in now without a tax credit program. The problem is that private school parents have to pay twice for their child's schooling. Let's draw a diagram of that. So here we have the family and the county tax assessor collector. The family must pay the property taxes on their home. Here's the private school that their child attends, and here is the private school tuition payment they must make to the private school. So the family has paid twice. Remember, there is plenty of school choice in Texas as long as you can afford to pay twice. To better understand how this tax credit would be implemented, let's study the mechanics of how a homeowner currently pays their property tax, and then how the new law would change those mechanics. Since the mechanics are simpler, let's study the example of a family that owns their house outright with no mortgage. So here again is the family and the tax collector. The family receives their tax statement from the tax collector. They write their check for the property tax and mail it to the tax collector. Now let's look at a family that does have a mortgage. We have our family, the bank holding the mortgage. The family makes their monthly mortgage payments. This time, the tax collector sends the tax statement to the bank. The bank writes a check for the taxes and puts the tax statement along with the check in an envelope and sends them to the tax collector. Now let's look at how the Family Education Tax Credit Program benefits the family. In the Family Education Tax Credit Program, private school parents pay only once for their child's education. How does this work? Again, we have our family and the tax collector and the private school. Normally, the family would pay their taxes, but now the new tax credit law allows the family to redirect the tax funds to the school as tuition. Now the family pays only once rather than twice. Now let's look at the mechanics of the tax credit law in the simple case of no mortgage. We start again with our family and the tax collector. The family gets their tax bill and starts to write a check, but now they don't write a check. Instead, they collect their private school tuition receipts, and the receipts are used to pay or credit their property tax account. That's why it is called a tax credit. Now let's look at the mechanics of the tax credit law in the usual case when the property owner has a mortgage. We start again with our family and their private school. Now we have a bank, which is the mortgage holder. The family makes their monthly mortgage payments to the bank, and the property tax is included in those payments. If the family also pays tuition, they would temporarily be paying double. This is a burden that most families can't afford. The bill allows the parent to assign their tax credit to the school. In essence, the family gives the school an IOU for the tuition instead of paying it now. Why would the school accept this IOU? Because it is backed by the tax credit that the family will receive in January. Let's continue to follow the mechanics of how the tax credit works. Here comes the tax collector who sends the tax bill to the bank. The bank writes a check for the property tax, but instead of sending the check to the tax collector, the bank uses the check to redeem the IOU from the private school. The bank uses this redeemed IOU as a tuition payment receipt, which can be used instead of a check to pay the property tax. Notice that the private school has received their tuition payment from the bank, and the family has only paid once through their mortgage payments.